Deep within the Sierra de Atapuerca, a mountain range in northern Spain, lies a labyrinth of caves, a silent archive of humanity's distant past. For centuries, these caverns held their secrets undisturbed until the relentless curiosity of modern science began to peel back the layers of earth and time. It is here in the Sima de los Huesos, the pit of bones, that one of the most profound and unsettling discoveries in human history was made. A discovery that rewrote the narrative of violence and compassion, pushing back the origins of murder by hundreds of thousands of years. The year was 1997. Dr. Juan Luis Arzuaga, a paleoanthropologist from the Complutense University of Madrid, and his team were meticulously sifting through the fossilized remains that had accumulated at the bottom of a 13-meter vertical shaft within the Sima. This extraordinary site had already yielded an unprecedented collection of hominin fossils representing at least 28 individuals of the species Homo heidelbergensis, an ancestor to Neanderthals. It was a treasure trove offering an unparalleled glimpse into the lives of our ancient relatives. Among the myriad of bones, femurs, tibious vertebrae, and countless fragments, a particular skull emerged shattered yet remarkably preserved. Catalogued as Cranium 17, or more intimately known as Miguelón, after the famous Spanish cyclist Miguel Indurain, due to its robust nature, it was a near-complete calvaria, the upper part of the skull. As the delicate work of reconstruction began piecing together the ancient jigsaw, a chilling detail came into focus. On the left frontal bone above the eye socket were two distinct fractures. They were small, seemingly innocuous at first glance, but their pattern told a disturbing story. These weren't the random breaks of a skull crushed by falling rocks or the gnawing of ancient scavengers. These were perimortem fractures, meaning they occurred around the time of death when the bone was still fresh. More precisely, they were depressed fractures where a section of bone is pushed inward, consistent with blunt force trauma. The first blow, a circular impact, was followed by a second, slightly more elongated one overlapping the first. Both impacts were remarkably similar in size and shape, suggesting they were inflicted by the same object used in the same manner and with similar force. The meticulous analysis led by forensic anthropologists and paleontologists began to unravel the implications of these injuries. The location of the blows on the forehead was particularly telling. This area of the skull offers little natural protection and is highly vulnerable. Furthermore, the angle of the impacts suggested a face-to-face confrontation or perhaps an attack from slightly above and in front. There were no signs of healing, confirming that the individual did not survive these injuries. The conclusion was stark, undeniable. These were not accidental injuries. This was violence deliberate and fatal. This was murder. For decades, the prevailing archaeological narrative placed the origins of systematic violence, and particularly murder, much later in human history, often associated with the rise of settled communities, resource competition, and more complex social structures. The earliest undisputed evidence of interpersonal violence leading to death typically came from the late Pleistocene tens of thousands of years ago. But here in the Sima de los Huesos was a skull dating back approximately 430,000 years, bearing irrefutable evidence of a targeted lethal attack. This discovery sent ripples through the scientific community. It challenged long-held assumptions about the cognitive and social capacities of early hominins. Homo heidelbergensis, while anatomically distinct from modern humans, possessed brains nearly as large as ours. They were skilled toolmakers, hunters of large game, and likely lived in complex social groups. But did their world include the dark shadow of intentional killing? Cranium 17, this silent sentinel from the deep past, seemed to scream an affirmative answer. The implications extended beyond just the act of murder itself. The Sima de los Huesos is not a living site. It's a mass grave, a deliberate accumulation of bodies. The leading hypothesis suggests that the individuals found within the pit were intentionally deposited there by their community, perhaps as part of a funerary ritual or a way of disposing of the dead. If this was indeed a burial site, however rudimentary, it implied a level of symbolic thought, a concern for the deceased that went beyond mere practical disposal. And if one of these individuals was murdered, it adds a chilling layer to the narrative of their community. Did they bury a victim of violence alongside others who might have died of natural causes? What did this act signify for them? The individual known as Cranium 17 was likely a young adult, though its precise age and sex are difficult to determine with certainty from the skull alone. What we can infer, however, is that this individual's last moments were violent. The force of the blows would have caused immediate and catastrophic brain trauma, leading to rapid unconsciousness and death. It was a brutal end, perhaps inflicted by someone known, someone from their own group. Imagine the scene over 430,000 years ago. A gathering of early humans, their lives a constant struggle against the harsh realities of the Ice Age. The air is cold, the landscape unforgiving. Perhaps a dispute arose, a conflict over resources status or something we can no longer comprehend. Or perhaps it was an act of pure, unadulterated malice. We can never know the motive, the specific trigger that led to those two fatal blows. But the physical evidence remains a stark testament to the oldest known murder in Europe, if not the world. The discovery of Cranium 17 forced archaeologists and anthropologists to confront uncomfortable truths about our lineage. It suggested that the capacity for lethal violence, the willingness to take another human life, is not a recent aberration, but a deeply ancient aspect of our evolutionary story. This doesn't necessarily imply that early hominins were inherently more violent than us. Rather, it indicates that the cognitive and emotional frameworks necessary for such an act, intent aggression, the ability to inflict harm, were present hundreds of millennia ago. This finding also sparked considerable debate. Some researchers posited alternative explanations for the skull fractures, perhaps suggesting an accident or post-mortem damage that mimicked blunt force trauma. However, the rigorous forensic analysis largely dismissed these possibilities. The consistent size and shape of the impacts, their location, and the absence of other widespread damage consistent with, say, a fall from a height, all pointed overwhelmingly towards intentional blows. The evidence was simply too compelling to ignore. The team at Atapuerca, a site that has been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site, continued their painstaking work, meticulously excavating and analyzing every fragment. Their dedication has not only revealed startling individual stories, but has also painted a broader picture of Homo heidelbergensis society. These were not primitive, unthinking brutes. They were complex beings capable of sophisticated behaviors, including, it seems, both compassion, as suggested by the communal burial, and brutality. The Sima de los Huesos therefore stands as a critical juncture in our understanding of human evolution. It offers not just skeletal remains, but fragments of narratives, glimpses into the lives and deaths of our ancient ancestors. Cranium 17. The victim of Europe's first documented murder is a silent witness, a relic that speaks volumes about the enduring duality of the human spirit, our capacity for both creation and destruction, for empathy and for violence. It reminds us that even in the deepest annals of time, the echoes of human drama resonate, pulling us back to a primordial past that is both alien and unsettlingly familiar. The discovery also initiated a profound reevaluation of what defines human behavior. If Homo heidelbergensis was capable of murder, what does that say about the development of morality, justice, and the very concept of a communal framework for living? These are not questions that can be answered definitively by a single skull, but Cranium 17 serves as a powerful catalyst for such inquiries. It forces us to look beyond simplistic notions of linear progress and acknowledge the complex tapestry of behaviors that have always characterized our species and indeed our ancestral kin. The legacy of Cranium 17 extends beyond the scientific papers and academic debates. It's a story that resonates with the public imagination, a vivid and tangible link to our deep past. It's a reminder that the dramas of human existence, love, loss, conflict, and even murder, are not recent inventions but have been woven into the fabric of our being for hundreds of thousands of years. The silent sentinel of Atapuerca continues to stand an enduring testament to a foundational act of violence that forever changed our understanding of where and when humanity's darkest impulses first emerged. Its fractured forehead is a window into a world long gone, yet one that continues to inform our present, urging us to reflect on the nature of our own humanity. The ongoing research at Atapuerca continues to yield new insights. Each fossil, each tool, each carefully analyzed layer of sediment adds another piece to the immense puzzle of our origins. And while Cranium-17 provides a stark reminder of our capacity for destruction, the very act of its discovery, preservation, and study speaks to another equally profound human trait: our insatiable desire to understand, to uncover the truth, and to piece together the narrative of who we are and where we came from. The story of Europe's first murder, frozen in time within a skull of ancient bone, is a testament not only to a primal act of violence, but also to the relentless pursuit of knowledge that defines our modern human endeavor. The narrative of Cranium-17 is still being written piece by careful piece as the scientists at Atapuerca continue their groundbreaking work. Every year, new discoveries further illuminate the lives of these ancient hominins, enriching our understanding of their world and their place in our evolutionary lineage. The fractured skull remains a powerful symbol, a touchstone for discussions on the origins of violence, the development of social structures, and the enduring mysteries of human nature. The discovery of Cranium-17, as groundbreaking as it was, didn't happen in a vacuum. It was the culmination of decades of painstaking archaeological work in the Sierra de Atapuerca, a region that has become one of the most important paleontological sites in the world. The story of Atapuerca itself is one of serendipity, perseverance, and the slow, deliberate unveiling of deep time. The first significant discoveries in Atapuerca were made not by archaeologists, but by railway engineers. In the late 19th century, a railway cutting was excavated through the mountains, inadvertently exposing several fossil-rich caves. While some early amateur excavations took place, it wasn't until the 1970s that serious, systematic scientific investigation began. Under the leadership of Emiliano Aguirre, and later the co-directorship of Juan Luis Arzuaga, José María Bermúdez de Castro, and Eudald Carbonell, the Atapuerca project transformed from a local curiosity into a global phenomenon. The Sima de los Huesos, where Cranium-17 was found, is just one of several critical sites within the Atapuerca complex. Each site offers a unique window into different periods of human evolution. Grandolina, for instance, has yielded evidence of Homo antecessor, a hominin species dating back nearly 1 million years, pushing back the presence of hominins in Western Europe significantly. These layers of discovery have created a remarkably detailed chronological sequence, allowing scientists to trace evolutionary changes and cultural developments over vast stretches of time. The Sima de los Huesos itself is a geological anomaly. It's a small chamber at the bottom of a vertical shaft, accessible only through a treacherous descent. For millennia, it acted as a natural trap, collecting the remains of animals, and most significantly, a large number of hominin individuals. The sheer concentration of fossils, over 7,000 human fossils from at least 28 individuals have been recovered, makes it unique globally. The preservation is exceptional thanks to the stable, cool conditions deep within the cave. This preservation has allowed for detailed analyses not only of bone morphology, but also of ancient DNA, which has further clarified the evolutionary relationships of these ancient Europeans. The context of Cranium-17 within the Sima de los Huesos collection is crucial to understanding its significance. The individuals found there appear to have died around the same time, or at least within a relatively short period, and show a relatively narrow age range, predominantly adolescents and young adults. This pattern, combined with a lack of carnivore gnaw marks on many bones, and the absence of a natural explanation for so many bodies in one place strongly supports the hypothesis that the Sima was a deliberate deposit of the dead. If it was indeed a proto-burial, it represents the earliest evidence of complex mortuary practices in human history, hinting at abstract thought, perhaps even spiritual beliefs long before the emergence of Homo sapiens. This hypothesis, while widely accepted, is not without its challenges. Some researchers argue that the accumulation could be the result of accidental falls over an extended period, or that the bodies were washed into the pit by water currents. However, the comprehensive analysis of the bone modifications, the sedimentology of the pit, and the spatial distribution of the remains strongly favors the intentional deposition theory. The discovery of a single hand axe dubbed Excalibur, made of a type of quartz not local to the cave, and found among the human remains further strengthens the argument for symbolic behavior. It suggests an offering a grave good placed with the deceased. Within this profound context of early funerary practices, the presence of cranium-17 with its clear signs of lethal violence takes on an even deeper meaning. It suggests that even as these early hominins developed complex social structures and perhaps nascent forms of ritual, they were still capable of extreme interpersonal aggression. The community that potentially honored their dead with offerings and deliberate placement also contained individuals capable of fatal violence. This duality is a recurring theme throughout human history, from the earliest hominins to modern societies. The analysis of the injuries on cranium-17 went beyond simply identifying the blows. Forensic experts meticulously recreated the probable sequence of events. The two blows were closely spaced, suggesting a rapid succession of strikes. The angle and force indicated a determined attack. There was no evidence of defensive wounds, which might suggest a surprise attack or that the victim was incapacitated or restrained. The precision of the injuries targeting a vulnerable area of the head further points to intent rather than a random act of violence. The identity of the perpetrator remains and will likely forever remain a mystery. Was it a dispute within the group? An act of jealousy? A punishment? The possibilities are endless and entirely speculative. What is certain, however, is that this act of violence was not an isolated incident in the grand sweep of human history. As we look at more recent archaeological records, evidence of interpersonal violence, while often subtle, becomes increasingly common. Cranium-17 simply pushes the timeline back, revealing that the capacity for lethal aggression is a deeply ingrained part of our ancestral heritage. The scientific narrative surrounding cranium-17 continues to evolve. Advances in imaging technologies, ancient DNA sequencing, and forensic anthropology continue to shed new light on the skull and its context. Each new piece of data refines our understanding, adding nuance to the story of Europe's first murder. It's a powerful reminder that the past is not a static entity but a dynamic field of inquiry constantly being reinterpreted and enriched by new discoveries and methodologies. The silent sentinel of Atapuerca cranium-17 stands as a profound testament to the complex and often brutal realities of life in the deep past. It challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about our ancient ancestors, reminding us that they were not merely primitive beings, but complex individuals navigating a challenging world capable of both profound acts of communal care and shocking acts of interpersonal violence. Its fractured skull is a mirror reflecting back the enduring paradoxes of the human condition, echoing across the vast expanse of 430,000 years.